let's cut the pipe cleaner. And then bend the very tips over and pinch together. Then we cut our wire for the legs, doing one leg at a time, and we are going to join these together by twisting as tightly as you can. And you want to leave both ends untwisted. These are going to form the feet, so you want to measure and bend back the middle toe and the back toe, and then pinch together. And now we're going to wrap another piece of wire around the top front toe, and this will make the other two toes. So I'm going around the middle toe and then just around the back of the heel to secure it in place. Don't worry too much about what this bit looks like, because we're going to be covering that later anyway. And then bend the two other toes forwards, like so. And then you need to cut these to length. Just bend the ends of the claws like that and cut the excess. And it may help to measure your feet from the underside together like that, just to see that they're even. Next thing to do is to wrap the little claws with some florist tape. You can use brown if you like, or you can use white and then colour it later. This is a thinner tape, so I'm going to use this one. So you want to hold the tape in place and then wrap firmly around the toe, nice and even, and around the claw a couple of times. Then cut your tape and use your fingers to squidge it around the claw like so. And you can always trim it to a bit more of a point later if you want to. For extra durability, I'm going to take a little bit of PVA glue mixed with water, and we paint that over our claws and let that dry. To colour the tips in using a marker pen. Next you want to take little bits of your white carded wool fibre and hold it in place and just wrap around the toes. Next I like to add a thin amount of wool just around the leg. And if you want to, you can always add a tiny bit of wool just over the joins of the toes to the top of the foot and just carefully needle felt those in. It's up to you, this takes a little bit of time to do this. Next, just attach the other leg the same way. And now we're going to build up the body. And around the tail. Just keep adding. So this is core wool that I'm using now, which is just a cheaper sort of softer wool before you add your top colour or the top white, which is what I used for the feet. I just put the top white straight on, but I'm using this to build up the body first. And the tail. And the head, we're going to build that up. make sure that I felt his face flat. Now we're going to build up the body a little bit more around the chest area. So just shaping around the back. I want the chest area to be a bit more built up, so I'm going to take a separate piece and strap that down. And attach that on. Just keep building up the shape until you're happy with it. And if you look at your L from the underside, you'll be able to just make sure that we are tapering down towards the end of the body like this. And I'm pushing his head down a bit more, and I'm going to wrap a little bit more wool around this section. Too much. Just like that. And check from the front to see if you need to add on any other bits on one side, like that. And keep pushing your wool to shape the head flat. But just above the beak they have a little area that sticks out a bit, so I'm just going to needle felt that. And you want to needle felt so it goes down into a sort of point. And so we can work out roughly where we want that to start and attach that on. Just make sure the top section isn't sticking up too much, just felt that back down. Don't forget to look at your owl's face from the underside as well, because I can see here that I need to build this side up a little bit. Once you're happy with the overall shape, you can start adding the white top coat. But you don't need much at all, just lay it out, away you go. And under the tummy. We're going to cover the face now. Lay over and felt that on. And I think it's easy to overwork something and then get frustrated. So don't worry if things are a little bit rough or uneven, because that just gives a more natural sort of finish, I think. And if you find you've lost some of the definition of the face because of the top coat, don't worry, because when you add the eyes in a minute it should all come back together. Now I want to build up the top half section of the leg, so one at a time, just wrap a little bit of the white wool around. And don't forget to felt the underside as well, just join it to the body. If you need to, you can add a tiny bit more just over the join and felt that on. You can always cut out the face section, and this will just give you a good idea of where to position things. Right, I'm just cutting this middle section out, and I'm going to use that as a guide where I want to felt in more. Just be careful with your fingers. And then the other side. And I've printed off another face. I've cut out the eyes so that I can use them as a stencil and add tiny bits of yellow wool and felt those in just as a rough guide, and then you can freehand it after. And now you've got the position, you can just work at making the eyes a bit more even. And if you didn't want to needle felt in the eyes, you could just buy some ready-made little eyes or sew in beads or whatever else you want to do. Now we're going to use some black wool just to draw the outline of the eye. I like to start with the underside of the eye first. And remember, you can always cut some of these stray black hairs around the eyes away, just using a sharp pair of scissors. Now I've measured out 2 little black bits for the pupils, and you can just needle felt those in. I like to position mine towards the top. And you can use your sewing needle just to carefully pull out the bridge section like this if you want to. Now I'm using a fabric marker just to work out roughly where I want the feather pattern to be. It doesn't have to be exact, I'm just doing some little dots on top of the head like that. For the beak, I've cut out a little diamond shape from black felt, and I'm going to roll that. And I'm just going to dip that in some PVA glue mixed with a little water. And now the beak's dry, you can just trim to even up the edges. And then you just need to add a little bit of glue on the one end and just push that in flat like that. Next thing to do is make the wings. So I'm just using some wool felt fabric and I've drawn out my wing, and you want to carefully cut that out. The shape, we want to build up our wing just by needle felting on a little bit of the white carded wool. And remember to keep lifting so that your wing doesn't stick to your work surface. And then I like to spend a little bit of time just around the ends of each feather, just to neaten those right up. And now if you turn your wing over, you'll find that you'll have these bits sticking out the back like that on the other side. So just trim those away. And now it all depends how much detail you want to add, but you could always just needle felt each feather, just a line down all the way around. And now you can just trim around the edges of the wing as well, just to get rid of those fuzzy bits. And to give our wing more strength so that it's able to stay in this flight position, we're going to use a pipe cleaner. So you want to let the pipe cleaner start just before this bend and make sure it goes all the way around, and give yourself a little extra length, and then we cut that. And then you want to wrap that with a little bit of the white wool. Next we're going to needle felt this section to our wing, and you want to bend it into shape, and then before you needle felt it, I like to add a little bit of glue just here and there just to hold it in place as we needle felt, so just a tiny dab. And now you can needle felt some more little bits of white wool just over the wing and needle felt it around and onto the back. Keep adding your little pieces. I'm just putting a little bit more over this end section and sort of tapering it down to blend it out. Use your fingers to help shape it. And then I wanted to add an extra piece onto the top of the wing, just some extra top feathers. So I've cut out my wool fabric, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did for the other section of the wing, and just needle felt on a little bit of the white carded wool. And needle felt that onto the top section. Then you want to needle felt a little bit more wool to cover this join. Use your fingers to help shape the wing. And just making the tail now. I'm going to cover that using a little bit of the white carded wool, just the same way as we did for the wings. And then just add in the feather detail. And next just position the tail on the body, and I'm needle felting through from the underside. A little bit more of the white wool over to secure it and to cover the join. So, whoops. Then turn, and you want to needle felt over this section. And the other side. And cover the join on the top. Right, so then you need to bend the wing, and we're going to attach the wings to the body. A sharp pair of scissors to make a little snip. Push your scissors through. You can always trim this bit if needed, if there's a bit too much wool hanging over, and then push that in. And use your scissors to help that go in. And then for extra hold, you want to needle felt some decent amounts of the white wool through the wing and onto the body to hold it in place. You just put a little bit more wool to cover that join like that. That is well attached from the top as well, so just rest on your work surface and needle felt through the wing and onto the body. And again, you may wish to cover these joins using a little bit more wool and just blend that in. And just going to attach the other wing the same way, just being careful of the other wings pipe cleaner that's in there. So you may need to go in at an angle on this side. Add in. And then finally you might like to draw on some of the feather detail. And you could even use acrylic paint, a little bit of acrylic paint. And then just add some detail to the tail. And you can even go around the eye a little bit more with the marker if you want to. And lastly, you just need to bend your wings and the feet into shape how you want them. A bit higher up, then just needle felt through the lower section a bit more, and they will stay raised like this. So that's our owl all finished. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Be sure to check back to the Wishing Shed, like and subscribe, and we'll see you back here soon.